Hello, everybody. I thought I'd start week 5 with a joke. And there it is right there. Of course, you'll recognize from our chapter on deductions in Weston's rule book for arguments that this is a deductive syllogism, right? Of course, by itself, it wouldn't be a joke unless the punchline, this part of it, is contrary to a logical conclusion. I mean, up to the comma, it works fine. It's got a premise, right? It's hypothetical. Of course, if I had $1 for every math quiz I'd fail, I'd have $6.75. Okay, well, there's the joke because it doesn't add up, doesn't make sense. If you're the only one who could see this, it wouldn't be a joke. For a joke to work, it has to be contrary to common sense. So there you go. You've got a premise and you've got not a logical conclusion, but an illogical conclusion and that element of surprise that comes along with it that makes the joke work. And as you will be reading this week in Weston's book, this is the section on logical fallacies. It's in the appendix in the back of the book. And of course, jokes are made of logical fallacies. They wouldn't be funny if they made perfect sense and there was no element of surprise. They'd just be standard logical statements. Let me just show you one of them. There are a bunch of these. Read through them because you'll see some that pop out to you again and again as you read satire and as you see jokes. Now this one, of course, is a non sequitur. Since a $1 for every failed math quiz could never add up to $6.75, the conclusion is not a reasonable inference from or related to the evidence. So it's a bad argument. Good joke, bad argument. So if you can see that much and know that it's contrary to what anybody else would see as common sense, you know how the joke is put together, you know how it's got the structure of an argument. So that's your friend for this week. It's going to be a handy little section of the book that you'll come back to again and again. And you'll also see, of course, never get too bashful about going here anytime you don't understand a term, but if we go here, and I had this open last week, I thought I'd go into a little more depth with it this week. So let me pull it up here. How satire and parody ridicule their subjects and apply deduction. Just like jokes, in order for satire to be funny, it has to be contrary to common sense and illogical. Of course, this is from The Onion. I showed you this last week. Scientists at a conference on climate change. And, you know, the logical part, there's a conference, alarming new data. Of course, the logical part is that you would read real alarming new data and warnings and saying maybe what could be done to prevent more climate change since it's too late to prevent it. Now we just have to try to reduce the effects of climate change. So here's the punchline. Well, it's the setup line, really, to the joke. Here's the punchline. Because common sense tells you scientists would never say any of this. They would come up with warnings or propose solutions or suggest policy changes that governments should take up. But instead they say, just go out and have fun. It's too late. They give a list of things you could do. Now, because it's satire and also because it's a parody of what you would see at a real conference, it's a spoof. Serious and straight face, common with satire, and of course, parody is a form of satire. But the joke doesn't work if you're the only one who knows this. Again, it has to be something that most people have heard about, know something about, and know that it's common sense, and scientists would never say this. It satirizes the doomsday pronouncements that often get reported in the news media about scientific conferences. So if there's a deduction here, and you bet there is. Now the first one I showed you was a hypothetical syllogism. This looks to me like a standard modus ponens deduction with one big difference. Premise, news conference about climate change, pretty common. Second premise, people need to pay attention. And of course, here's the faulty logic, the illogical deduction, which in real life would not be this. That's why it's a joke. So that's what satire is doing here to create the joke. It's funny, but it makes no sense because it's contrary to common sense. So there's the part to remember about how jokes and satire share common structure with real logical argument. So I hope that helps, gives you a good handle on how things are going this week. And we have a lot going on this week. Let me take you up to the assignments page before I say goodbye for the week. And there are the reading questions that I just answered. So we'll send that on its way. And here's another set of reading questions due Friday. So I'll put them at the bottom there. And that extended argument analysis, that's due Wednesday, same day the discussion's due, so keep that in mind. And paragraph 3, Friday, along with the reading questions being due. And then there's a new paragraph assignment. You can look at that over the weekend. You don't have to read it before Friday. You've got enough on your plate. So there's how it all kind of plays out for the week. Now, you've got this going, I hope. Read through the directions one more time. Make sure you haven't missed anything. There's the discussion coming up. Be opening in 56 minutes. And paragraph number 3, based, an onion paragraph. And what you've all been doing on the reading questions tells me that you shouldn't have too tough a time with this paragraph assignment. And then there's the rest of it. And remember, as always, if you have a question, go to the class chat room on the discussion page if it's not a personal question. And you have a question about the assignment or what's coming up or doing the argument analysis, applying it to satire and jokes, because obviously they're contrary to logic, even though they have a logical structure that mirrors serious argument. you're still having trouble wrapping your head around that, let me know. Meanwhile, have a great week.